University. So yeah, lectures.
So Sunsalute is what we did. That's Sunsalute A, technically. Okay. So if you see if you see the yoga challenge that I did on Instagram, we have it in my folder. So we have Sunsalute. So in the challenge, the few days. If I go back to day 10, because what is it today? Day 12? Day 10 was downward dog riffs. So riffing out the downward dog, kind of like we did that sliding, that kind of how we did in the warm-up, and we didn't do as much of it in the practice section. But you want, in that section, anytime you do downward dog, you want to let people know they can do any of those mods, you know. One of my students, my weekly private students, he's been doing 1 or 2 classes a week since August, and so now the work is really taking shape on his body. It's really cool to see. He's a person who couldn't give a shit about Instagram yoga or aesthetics of yoga. He's coming purely, he runs multiple businesses, super stressy life, wants to have time, and was getting annoyed with his declining body. Yanni, like 47, Yanni. So if you don't, before 47, if you don't maintain it, it will start to go. So he was getting unsatisfied with his look and stress levels. So he comes to yoga. When he goes into downward dog, this is something that you're going to see a lot of students. He has the confidence because he's done the work and he knows what the shapes feel like. You know, that's what I was saying, know what it feels like, because we're going to transmit through without talking. You're going to transmit a lot. Because sometimes his English is very small. So sometimes I'm like, no, watch me. Don't do it, watch me. So when you tell your student to watch you, maybe not that aggressively, but this is a student, he's good, but he's difficult, yeah? I have to negotiate with him. I'm 5 more minutes. He's like, no, I want to be done now. He'll do work up a sweat and then he's like, Halas, I'm finished. And I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. 5 more minutes. No. And, so now he has this confidence in his attitude, he's got it, that he feels like I'm doing the pose, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not. So, and then I said, okay, go and do it. And I go, now turn your head and look in the mirror. And he's like, oh, it looks so bad. So he's learning how things, when they feel comfortable, they look also comfortable. For you guys, to see downward dog, if you see a downward dog like this, I look like I'm fairly comfortable. But if you saw someone like this, is that person going to do a front flip? Or you're like, what are they going to do? It's questionable where my weight is being held. What's my next move? You can't tell. So there's lots of, instead of this backslide, there's lots of this tenting up too much that happens in downward dog especially. So that's why we want to give students the option and kind of the instruction to slide back first and then walk the dog, stretch the legs, straighten the legs, and then most general population, their legs are way too tight to straighten them. They don't even need to do that at all for a while. It's one at a time, or probably leg strap openers first. And it's a while, yeah. So encourage them to do super bent knee, and then the focus is this slanted back. So getting them to slide from table, our slides, how we do the cat and cow, the slides when we're first warming up. And then sliding back into downward dog is a really great progression if you're not sure of the fitness. Even if you have like a young group and everyone's pretty fit, they can still do the form, not incorrect, you know? And then what happens, what's the big deal if they do the form incorrect? It's the wrists, it's you're not unlocking the lines of energy as they're intended to be floating. Remember that the yoga poses all correspond with different meridians of the body. So if we're not in the shape or the key, it's not going to be able to send that energy through the body in the way that is intended. Where's my big my cleaner was like moved all my stuff. Don't close my books, I told her. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm a crazy person, but I can't have you do that. Okay. So page 100, I guess. Yes. So the Sunsalute or Surya Namaskar is probably the most popular yoga series in the world, I would say. And most general people and general public, even if they've never done yoga before, they have seen the poses from this. The one that we did now, tonight, the final one, that was Surya Namaskar A. And then they have also B and C. So they are always, when you know you're doing sun salute, they will always be a series of forward and backward bends, just like what we did. It was a little bit heavier on the forward bend, on the forward bend. We have backward bend and we have standing back bend and we have the cobra. There are two back bends in that. But primarily, we're moving through that. So it's an invigorating and linear practice that strengthens and tones the entire body. With that said, at your age, at your guys' age, yes, yoga can be a complete activity, but you do need weights and you need cross training. You know, I love yoga, but unless you incorporate some fast twitch, I mean, you will be lacking for someone having a balanced body. So it builds strength, it builds vitality, promotes mobility, promotes longevity, and it works along, really along the back core line of the body. Through intention and breath work, you are able to gauge the intensity of your practice. The sequence may be modified to suit any abilities. It can be done seated in a chair if necessary. The key to reaping the benefits and modifications is to be honest in the modifications and to be attentive to breath. So being honest in modifications means don't just modify for laziness sake, you know. Challenge yourself, but also if you need to take it more easy, then having the mod is there. Just be sure if a mod is detrimental or you're training the modification, you know, because maybe you have an issue today, you won't have it tomorrow, and you're always using the same modification. So if we go to 101, the sun salutation 1. So the origins of the sun salutation kind of pagan, sound kind of pagan to me. You know, worship of the sun, and you know those feelings. If I look at the body, I have this little infograph. I'll show you guys. So if we look at this body, and it looks like it's waking up. It's like, oh, waking up, you know, and we kind of make some of those movements when we're waking up, and not so much, you know, but kind of, and, you know, I want to like round my back a little bit after I get up for a while, or definitely stretch. Definitely a big stretch, you know. So do I want to plank when I wake up? Not so much, but sometimes I'm in that mood, you know. But yeah, this is all very invigorating, Yani, and again, very linear. Like all of the vinyasa standing is very, very linear. So let's reference it, right? Let me bring this over. You guys can see these little peoples. Alright, so, and then if you're looking for ways to break it up for your students when you go to teach it, there's a few ways. You can be like, today we're going to do sun salutation, guys, and go step by step through it. You can break it into halves or thirds, is what a lot of teachers do. And then have like lead ups to it in your warm up. So we kind of did a little bit of lead ups in the warm up, where in the warm up, what was non-related was the ab work. Well, the ab work is just for general fire. You know, ab work is important because it holds the top and the bottom of the body together, you know, and people are way less likely to have a back injury if their abs are turned on. So then we did the half sunsalute, the forward bend down, inhale up halfway, back down, inhale up all the way. And so we did that several times to get the flow. Just simply because how many poses is that? Technically mountain, standing back bend, standing forward fold is up halfway, well, can be technically. So it's kind of like it's 4 forms altogether. For some people, because what is this? It's technically a choreography, you know? So yes, you're there and it's not like fast stuff in it, like detailed for a choreography, but as far as sequencing goes, sometimes students do get overwhelmed and you can just show them like a little chunk at a time like we did there. Preferably, you would have taught downward dog before to that group. Again, as we talked about, it could be in any type of situation with teaching, and you might have students you've never had before in your class, and yalla, they just have to hold on for the ride because that's how it is. The ideal situation for when you guys are new teachers is maybe you plan like a 4, 6, or 8 week series, and then you get to work with the same people over and over again for a little bit. Would be ideal situation. But we know that the world doesn't always afford us ideal situations, so but that would be your ideal situation, because then you would get really excellent visual feedback for your own self as a teacher, like what you take in from your students. You won't even know. Like you're not going to necessarily plan your classes as like little science pods for your own experiments always, but you will receive that benefit from them. So when we're looking in Sunsalute 1, and then we're going to do them over the next days, all of them, don't worry. So it details for you all these poses. We don't have to go through this because we've detailed all of them already. So we have mountain, and then we have standing back bend. Arms extended in mountain pose, take it in standing back bend, into standing forward bend, and then the inhale up halfway, flat back. And this halfway flat back is a really great time to know how their backs are doing. Some people coming up halfway flat back, they might not have the strength in their low back to come up that way. You can always encourage them, and I didn't tonight because you guys were fine as far as it looked, but you can encourage people to put elbows on the thighs at that time. So in that, when we inhaled up and we reached up, and then I led with the elbows. So what I was doing here is not a mechanical thing. I was doing a visual cue. Down. So I can be like this, and I'm trying to instruct them to keep everything like just organized. Sometimes you have to remind your students to organize their body. So yes, we are working on organization of the body as an example. So if we were doing crunches like this, and then you see someone who's like, Like, look how stressful that looks. I see it all the time. So you're like, I want it to be more linear. So I went to my student, they were doing this, the legs were going out. I don't know what was going on. They were trying to bypass the abs because it was burning. Actually, I get it. So I went like this. I brought my hands to their knees, put them in line with their hips, and I made them do, I go, see, it looks more clean. It looks more organized. And he's like, he goes, it hurts more. I go, well, just make it smaller. But this, whatever all that is, if you see people flailing at any time, you must stop them. Contain, yeah, you stop flailing. Like, that is stressy for them, and it's stressy for me to see, and it's stressy for their co-students. So if you see someone, like, there's a certain amount as a teacher of, like, yeah, just let them work it out, and be like, let me help you. If it's very alarming, you have to be like, like, you have to stop them. You know, like, if it's very alarming, like, I was like, what are you doing that? And the coaches, you must stop them. So encourage them. When I went the elbows down, this was more of a visual cue than anything. At the same time, I'm still giving cue to have the collarbones wide, because this automatically closes. But I want to be like here, and I want to go down, but I'm like, everything goes down. So again, think of your visual cue. And audio cues. So how are some other ways? If you notice how I modulate my voice in when you guys are in Shavasana, I'm going to talk differently to you than I was when we're like, okay, 4 more, okay, 1 more breath, hold, and then like when we're in a power time, I'll have more energy to my voice, and then I'll be more slow, and yeah, just like the octave drops a little bit and it gets a little more like, what is it called? The late night radio voice? Like, it gets to the late night radio voice a little more. So these different cues and modulations it's very subtle. And you kind of have to just like, what's the saying? Read the room. You know what I mean? It's like you just have to use your intuition and be present. Like that's, you know, to give those cues. If I was like somewhere else in my mind completely, would just be like saying in a similar tone, because I'm not with you in the experience of the room of what I want to feel. So think about your cues, and you're like, and slide, and where you can lengthen different vowels, and where you can make where you can make different words. And then it will be all different if you teach in Arabic also, like how you choose to accent the words, words that you know that your community, it means something for them. Yeah, you know what I mean? That would be like developing your vocab, which is good. The roll from the knees to the plank. So when people have to plank, you're going to see lots of frantic things happen there too. You're going to see lots of weird stuff happen in plank. You're like, what is that? So the lack of strength is number one. Thus, strength is not a prerequisite, it is a side effect. So whenever somebody doesn't have the strength to hold something, you're like, okay, well this is great news, because we're going to build the strength and you're going to have it. So, you know, so we always want to encourage the people that, okay, yes, let's be very clear. This is outside of your ability for the moment, and that is completely fucking okay. And there are steps that you can take to get there. You know, we don't ever want them to feel like it's an impossible. I mean, if someone has like one leg, that's like a whole other situation. But and still they can do yoga. You know what I mean? So unless they have like spina bifida or some like very bad condition, most people can learn and gain the strength to do these poses. Again, like we talked about, very heavy-bodied people can even do yoga. So it's about slowing everything down when someone's having a problem and being able to walk them through step by step to get there. So someone who is not able to go into plank fully is like probably most of the population, actually, most of the population. So when we're going into plank, we did this other one, this knee roll through. So when we're here, or first we were in forward fold, and then they said, okay, now step back and step back. First of all, stepping back could even be a problem for people, and then to lower the knee down. So again, you wouldn't want that time to be their first time that they're going into plank with you. You could take a little bit of time in the warm-up also and do plank warm-ups. So key problems in plank is the wrist. Or if someone has, well, we don't deal with it as much here, but you could, arthritis in the hand, their hands can't spread wide, that's a thing. So you can get them to have their hand on something if it's round. Like I literally had an old lady, her hands were like this, like she couldn't open them more than they were like closed this much. So she would bring a rolled towel like this and put it on her mat, and her hands would be like this is how she modified. And sometimes it was like a lot for her wrists also. So she would come down and have to open her wrists, and then I would give her some things against the wall. So people who can't go weight on the wrist, could be for many reasons, yeah. Besides arthritis, it could be just like in the shoulder, it depends. Could be many reasons. So for everyone that's like healthy and fine, we want them to spread the fingers wide, have the whole hand down, and never feel like see how this is like jammed like this? I always want to kind of be like a little back off my wrist. So you want to think you're not cutting off the blood flow, you know? So when I go like this at a 90-degree bend, I'm super cutting the blood flow. And so if I'm a little slanted, but I never want to feel jammed. So it's kind of like when we did the threading the needle, how we don't want to feel jammed and stuck. We want to be able to slide in into it and out of it with ease. And that's why we went into that one 3 times, because that's another one that people can get stuck into. So you want to think about poses. I mean, specifically we're talking now about the sun salute, but to talk about all of your poses, if you see poses that have like clear room for struggle or air, get really good at those in your own transitions. So then you can be like, watch. Because sometimes students think that they're doing what you showed them, and they're super not. You know, because they thought that it looked like you were doing this, and they think they're very clever. They're the most clever, and they know what you're doing. So it's like, well, actually, that's not what I'm doing. So that's, again, the cues of the physical transmission. Be very clear of what you're doing. Say, hey, let me demo it for you, and watch me once, and then you try. This is very difficult to get students to do, by the way, especially they want to go and do it. And then they want to show you, Margot, that they're more qualified than you. Like, okay. Right, yeah. So you're like, let me show you. Just watch. Okay. Watch this, and then we'll try it together. You know? So yeah, you're working with the insatiable ego of Egypt in here. So back into the half plank position. Getting your students into half plank. So typically I would do this before the class or do this in the warm-up if I was going to go into sun salutes with my class. So get them into table pose, get all of the points of table pose. Again, contraindication you're going to see is everyone doing this one. Rotate pieces of the elbows in, points of the elbows outward, belly is pulled up to the low back. So from here, get them to just start with the slides. Shift the weight to the front. They can even take their feet super off the ground like that to feel that, and then shifting the weight back. A lot of people, when you bring the weight and I bring my feet off the ground like that, like having all of the weight in their front is painful for the wrist. So just get them to, and they might be like, oh my God, already, you know what I mean? So check first like that, and then be like, oh, well, you can avoid this by, and then explain the weight of the ass is over the legs because the legs are big. So we have to keep it like that. It's a very obvious answer, but sometimes it has to be explained. like most obvious things. So from here, you get them to work on their slides back and the slides forward. So not with the tilts of the downward of the cat and cow that we usually do, but just get them to slide forward and back and forward and back to start here. Also with wrists on blocks is fine to do. And then when they're ready to go into plank, I'm going to step my knee back and back and back, like kind of as far back as they can go. Or you can get them to lay like this, see where the knees are positioned, and then say bring your hands under the shoulders and press up and come to your knees and don't adjust them. So now the knees are farther back than they would be from the hips, like quite a bit far. My hips are here. So they're like my femur's length back. And that's the position. And then from here, you get them to roll one foot up and roll one foot up and then maybe roll 2 feet up, you know, from there. So that's one way to put them in from the table pose, or you can get them to be in table pose, put 1 foot back, straight like that. Then the knee comes down, put 1 foot back, and that's where they can practice their tabletop plank or their half plank. So from here, you can get them to do baby push-ups and hold that position. And then, okay, so we have that position, we have the half plank. What is it that we're trying to build besides the wrists? Is this strong hold of the core. So if you guys want to join me in this position, I can be here and kind of lazy about it also. Try it for yourselves. So I can be here, I'm not really holding my core too much. Okay, I'm here, I'm yapping to you, blah, blah. And, but my back I'm also kind of released, you know, so I'm gonna say press into the back, pull the belly button into the spine, and get them to engage that whole circumference of the core with the shh, with that shh breath, and they can really feel, like everyone that does that, you can relieve your wrist, but I just want you to try that position. Everyone that does the shh, they get the abs thing. It's like, do you feel it? And it's like, yes, for sure. After the shh, really, really helps engage the abs. So you're gonna say, okay, engage on your exhale. They still won't get it. So encourage them to try the shh. And we want to feel this, another cue. Cueing. That's the cue. You can do it on your body, you can do it outside. You will start to build your own sign language, things that make sense to you, probably make sense to other people too, and then you'll get things that you feel good, and then you'll get things that you drop. You know what I mean? It's just like you'll refine. You'll refine it over time. So get them to practice this half plank. It's great to do in warm-ups. It doesn't have to be like what we've done warm-ups wise. You guys can see that I'm always riffing them a little bit, right? Like I'm never just going from the book. I'll do the sequence from the book because we have to. But I'm always riffing the warm-ups a little bit. And I'm like, and change this and melt this and whatever. And you have, just so you know, you have the creative. That's what you have to practice, because that's how you riff stuff. Is because you spent time with it and then you made little changes based on your mood or your need or whatever, your hormones or whatever. So you can have all kinds of weird stuff in your warm-ups actually, which is really fun. If I have something that I was like doing in the week that's un-yoga related, or maybe even un-dance related, and I had a dance class, I was super bringing into the warm-up if I was so excited about it and I wanted to like tell somebody, I just want to do it, you know, when you learn something new and you want to just like put it everywhere. So definitely have those moments, and you can throw it into your warm-up. You know what I mean? You can also throw it into your poses, like spice the pose. That's how we got all these different forms of yoga that's going on nowadays. So different ab engagement exercises, those are ones specifically for plank. If you have others that you know and love or that you've discovered in your own time, you can also throw it in there if you find it's going to be useful, because you're their teacher. So whatever comes from you, you're bringing something to them that you think is going to be useful. So whatever it is, it doesn't have to be in a curriculum. If it has to do with warming your body in a creative and interesting and enjoyable way, you can put it in your yoga class. You know what I mean? There's a lot of room. And then students often like they won't like that. They're like, oh, I never tried that before, you know, that was something interesting and new for me, you know? Or also maybe they don't like it. You never know what people are doing. So warm up, you can do that plank prep with either the legs straight or the legs bent as you'd like to get them into it, or you might develop your own way and get them to breathe there. Another option, just to get them kind of like more comfortable in that position of the plank, is getting them to do a little bit of engagement with the feet, and then get them to just do lifts, kind of doing like half planks or side planks. So you're doing a little bit of rotation. I'm still holding the plank, and I'm doing a little bit of twist, a little bit of a twist, a little bit of twist. I've had different phases in my yoga teaching. So when I was like in my CrossFit phase, you know, my yoga students would know for sure. Or when you're more in your ballet phase, and then I would bring different exercises from all of my, and I did this with all of my teaching actually. Like, every teacher does this. And so that's what you bring from your life. Again, like I was saying, as you record or as you advertise your class, you can have your name, you know, yoga with Phoebe big, or you could have yoga with Phoebe small. You know, it just depends how you want to do it. But ultimately, the people who come to you again and again are coming for you. Yoga is everywhere, and yoga is free on the internet, and yoga is on application on your phone, and yoga is everywhere as you look. Right? And so they are coming for you. So things from your life, things that spark joy inside of you, that they're not like that. Things that they come because they like you, and things that you like, they're gonna like. Like that's how it works. You know, that's how it works. So practice, bring things that you like, make it interesting for your own self, because when you're very interested in it, then your students will also be very interested. You'll be like, yeah, I found this really cool way to like fire up my abs. Usually people are like, I have to go to the gym. Or, like some people really love the gym and really love to work out, but some people drag their ass for it, and that is not a vibe. Like that is not a vibe that you want people to come to your class. And yes, sure, you can be tired. It's normal. Life is tiring, but don't be like fucking depressing bummer. You know what I mean? So like that's like you as the teacher, you have to bring that. And then if someone's bringing that shitty energy to your class, you have the right to tell them not to. But if you're also bringing it, then you're going to attract those guys. But like some of them will slide in, unfortunately. So yeah, get creative with your warm-ups. Dissect the poses and see what's happening in them. So we also have the elements of plank. We also have those when we go in downward dog. When we get that really nice, strong, straight torso, that is like, you're also able to do a nice solid plank, you know? And so you can also, if you have a class day that you're gonna be drilling downward dog or practicing more on downward dog, you could also put the plank preps in there. What else does downward dog and plank have similarities in? Is the wrist impact. So always be sure, even if you're fine and just sailing along, and your wrists are totally fine, remember just to give space and time. And you can just bring your fingers around your wrist like this. They can also pull the hand from the arm just to relieve any stress. But really this like, yeah, the fingers around the wrist is nice. A little bit of relief for that. On the upward fold, on the standing back bend, usually I offer the modification or the safety modification of placing the hands on the low back. I didn't do that at all tonight. I know that you guys know to do that. If I'm working with a group of people that perhaps I hadn't worked with before, I would offer that modification. I would be from here, I would be like, okay, and then we inhale the arms up, and looking straight up. You can continue with your back bend, or you can bring your hands down to the low back to support your low back if you need more support. So you can have that in there again. Just again, so you cover everything. Not to be paranoid, but again, watch your clientele. And then again, just if there's someone new that you don't know, or if questionable looking strength, and you can give them all of their, I mean, also people will surprise you with their strength too, actually. Like, they have more of it than you think. What else was in there? Mountain pose, come in. For the sun salute and how I started, I had the arms down at the side first, just to come to standing, but then we started here with the hands, the thumbs pressed into the sternum. So after the warm up, moving into that first standing pose, I really like to bring the thumbs pressing into the sternum because it just kind of helps with the proprioception, which is like, how to describe that? The proprioception is like the awareness of where the body is, you know, so the more that we like touch our body, and especially in this area like the chest, it's not an area that's tactile, so, and breathing into this, it will just kind of give me a more awareness of this like chest, and we always say open through the collarbones, you know, and I try to bring my hands physically to my collarbones and do this many, many times, and it just feels nice, actually. I think most people, they're like, oh, I needed that, you know, it's just like a fresh feeling, because we're always like, we naturally close here, so it's just like this nice fresh feeling. So cue them again, that collarbones wide. You guys have done tests on what are collarbones. A lot of people don't know, you know, and most people do, but a lot of people don't. So again, just that brushing. Say, think of the bones, the clavicles, the collarbones opening outward, going outward. And again, that's another cue that will tie into our plank. Keep the chest broad. When is the time before plank that we can mention this? Is when we were in our slides, those cat and cow mods, keep the chest wide. That's the perfect training moves for that. It essentially is training moves for that. So again, keep the collarbones wide, because especially when people are here, I also encourage people to place the hands a little wider than the shoulders, like maybe even a lot wider than the shoulders. If I had my hands shoulder distance, they're quite a bit. I usually go like, and I rotate my arm out a little bit when I go for it. And so I can keep it wide. But a lot of people will be here, and then they go like this. And it gets kind of jammed up. So you want to encourage that wide collarbones, even if you come to their back, like they're in table pose, and you open the scapula. So just like when you guys are standing and I was like, okay, and the arms come up and we bring the shoulder blades back down, you can do that same adjustment for them in table pose. And then another adjustment that's helpful in that position is hands right here. So we have, okay, bring your shoulders down away from your ears and engage here. This little, even if you do it on your own self, you can feel it kind of like this and this, like in right here. So you can use your whole like hand flat, or you can use your hands. So you're like, okay, collarbone or shoulder blades come down, and think of this muscles here around the ribs. Because that's all going to be, and then that little like side plank guy that I was doing, that little mod, is a good way to like turn that on also, because we want people to start to think about their body in a tube-ish, a circular way, more than just linear front and back. Although front salute is not the best one for that, but it is just front and back. And then the standing forward fold, I think I said that. Offer them the option of putting elbows on the knee at any time. So that could be, if they're here, I'm coming down for my first one, I could stop here. I didn't stop here at all, I just went all the way down. So you could say, you could bring your elbows to the knees, it could be a first progression and then slowly take it down. And then they can go all the way down, and then inhale, coming up with a flat back. If that one is not, you can say bend the knees and bend the knees, elbows to the thighs, and then come up with a flat back. So they kind of like made a table for their own self to lay on, like of their own body. So that you can give them that variation also, and then fold it here. And then you are also able to offer them to not come up with a flat back. They can just roll. They can do stand roll up also. So just because we have the sequence in the form, you can even do like how we did for kind of prep ones before we did the full Sunsalute. You could offer them for prep ones where they do that. And to get them kind of like, before you flow it all together, they can just try that in one variation. The cobra into the down dog. So we did two options, right? We had cobra, we breathed up into it, and we just did baby cobra. We didn't go up into full cobra, it's not necessary tonight. And then we went back, the first couple, we went back into child's pose. And then from child's pose, transition through table, and then back into downward dog. So typically, classically, we could say, there's no child's pose in between there. You can still offer it so that it flows smoothly, and why not? You know, you will gauge the ability of your class or even how you're feeling that day, and then you'll make those calls. So, however, if there's someone that is really struggling in the transition, let's like throw them a lifeline and give them an option. So I was here in the cobra, squeezing here, and then from here, instead of coming back down all the way on the last one, I kind of like at the same time push, and again this low ab pull back. So I can take it all the way back, but a lot of times they're gonna just take it from here, and they're gonna take the feet, tap them. I don't recommend that for new students, and then going back into the downward dog. So here, from here, get them to push up. The action of coming through the table and then readjusting, and then back with the bent knees. So starting with the bent knees, a lot of times students who require the bent knees, which is going to be most students, or go to a yoga class, guys. Go just look at everyone's downward dog. go judge downward dog. Yeah, go look. You'll see lots of interesting variations. And yeah, you'll see lots of interesting variations. So for the first while, I would say get them in bent knee downward dog. Because when you start linking the poses together, some things are gonna get sacrificed, I think. I know for sure. So they're gonna sacrifice form for speed is what's gonna happen. So from here, allow them that time, let them know maybe they have to readjust, and then taking it up into the bent knee downward dog, and then walking it out. You could have the opposite problem where you notice the student has ample flexibility to do the full downward dog, and they still choose bent knee, or say, hey, why don't you try like walking the dog, straightening one leg at a time, and then see if it's there for you to fully straighten your legs. You know, you're gonna see if it's there for you, not be like, I know you can and you should, you know, like you let them be the ones who decide that you can make the suggestion. That's why you're there. So give them the option to do that, and I would say provide an example before you go into the full example. So you can do that in the warm-up, or how we did tonight, how we were like, okay, we're gonna flow this 4 times and repeat it. And then I did it like each 2 slightly different. You give a little bit of variety to them and modification. And then from there, okay, so the stepping back again. So we did the option from the forward fold, stepping one leg back and then the other leg. Typically, unless you're in Ashtanga class, you won't be doing the jumping. The jumping is really like Ashtanga style. You can do it, and I do it sometimes, but I don't always expect my students to do it. And again, I try my best for my students to keep their body feel organized. Like I want them to feel, I don't want them to feel chaos, you know, so I try to keep their body feel organized. So, yeah, if they have the good ab strength, then you could say, okay, and here they jump back, you know, and give them a demo of that. Or you could just say step one, and then the other, say step the opposite leg this time, and then the other. And then like when we were in there, we stepped back into plank, remember? And then we tried to step back, and it was like a little awkward. And then we went into downward dog, and we were able to step back more easy because there was room for the knee to come up and in. And so going back is different than coming front. Jumping from back to front sometimes is considered more easy. So let them know you can jump from the forward fold back. You can be in forward fold. And then you can brace yourself. So I would really even bend and I would jump back. And again, if they can keep it organized. And then if I'm going to jump forward, you can also tell them it's fine to jump to the middle of their mat. They can also jump to the middle of their mat. Ideally, what is happening when if you choose to jump forward, there's actually like this low ab move, like that is the same action that you'll take if you're jumping into a handstand or into a front flip. Is that same action, you know? So stepping from the back to the front is more clean, I think, for a new student and even for your own practice if it's something that you don't do now. And then jumping from the front to the back is more tidy because it's just a matter of shooting the legs straight out and back and keeping them together. Any questions about this transition into plank cobra, the chaturanga? I will say, as a person who did hot yoga for many, many years, be careful in your transition and take your time because shoulders, well, we only have one of each of them, and they're very unforgiving. There's a lot of people, yoga teachers and yoga practitioners that I know personally over the years who have had massive shoulder problems from this chaturanga section, Yani. We are going to have a session this weekend where we do the 21 Sunsalutes. So, I mean, we take care anyway, you know, I'm not into injuries in my practice, just my normal life, and just in my normal life. But this repetition, so there's some forms of yoga that they only do Sunsalutes, you know, only, forever, 108 Sunsalutes, you know, and if you have your form just slightly off and you're repeating it and repeating it and repeating it and repeating it, it's going to be an overuse injury. So just remember all of this like shoulder rotation stuff. There's two pieces of it. There's what we learned about it, and then there's what's actually going on in people's bodies. You know, so there's so much room for deviation and. Yeah, for deviation and variety in the human body, you know, and you will understand other people more, again, by understanding the form and function of your own body. So now, on page 103, there's sun salutation 2. So I'll go over the points. We'll do the actual practice of this tomorrow. But, so the difference between sun salutation 2 is quite a bit. Here, let me bring back this. Oh, let me. I will win the award for most teas spilled in the training. I'm like, yes. Okay. Here's infographic number 2. So it starts, rather than the inhale up with the back bend, it has Utkatasana, where we go sitting back into chair pose, into your forward fold, halfway up, and then they would have jumped back. And then they had full cobra, downward dog. But I have here upward dog. Oh no, sorry. This one. Upward dog. Sorry, I was like, that's cobra, but it's upward dog. I was like, so they went into that. They bypassed cobra all the way up into upward dog, pushed back that pulling back of the hip shit into the downward dog. So then, we've done this transition before, and I'm sure you've seen it, is stepping one foot through only, and then windmilling the arms and coming up into the warrior 1, and then bringing the arms. I like to do warrior 2 in there a lot too. So coming up into warrior 1, but that's a mod. If we're doing classic, then this is it. Warrior 1. Maybe typically have a little more back bend than this little lady in her yellow shirt. And then bringing the hands back down. What happened in the mean? This leg stepped back into plank again, and then that wave through up into that upward dog. So we were in the baby cobra, so we pressed, we came up, and then that pulling back, slide back into downward dog. Even I don't like this picture so much because this triangle should be a little more like that. Should be. It's a little picture of a lady what to do. Maybe I should assume her gender. So then we do the other side, warrior 1, and then back into that, repeat. Oh, I was gonna go like this, like a screen guide. Yeah. Did you ever do that on your laptop? You go to like, I'm like, how come this? I'm like, oh, it's me. User error. And then you go, it's like you go back the way that you came. And then we go Utkatasana chair pose, and then Tadasana. So this one is even stronger on the back. So with the awkward pose and the legs. I mean, chair pose is downward dog bent knee. Yeah. Right? Go and print an infographic. I remember, maybe even have one in here. And turn, like I was saying, these little pictures, turn them. Anyway, here's my little awkward. Like I'm downward dog. Am I not? Yeah. Super. Yeah, so, I mean, a body is a body. And then what I learned about taking, what I learned about doing about my Canadian coming out, it was so bad. I was like, wow, Canadian here. It's me. Yeah, God, I don't even remember what I was going to say from that. So a lot of movements in the body, they're just done in different ways, but they're all the same thing. Like, if you practice multiple forms of dance, like people label things all different things, but it's a lot of the same thing. You know what I mean? So the body can only move so many ways. So we have we know our planes of motion and all of those. So everyone has that unless they have some deviation or defect or injury or whatever. Just use the word defect. Deviation. And there's pretty much only so many ways of moving the body, you know? So that's like, find out the ways that are dangerous and just stay away from those. Usually we do right side and then left side. try to remember every here and there to do left side and right side. You know what I mean? Or you can be like, I'm gonna be rebellious today and we're gonna start on the left, you know. So down. And then we have our or they have them labeled A, B, C. So this one is nice. They're all nice, but I like the little lunge. So kind of similar to the start of number one. The inhale up, exhale, inhale halfway up, step one leg back and down. So we'll do this on top. Step one leg back and down, and then inhale into the lunge. You would bring the hands down, and then the other leg comes back to join. Knees, shins, chest. This is a really good photo, actually, of the process of the chaturanga. Like she's in the process of like, she's in the process of sliding through. They did that one well. And so then into your upward dog as your cobra placeholder, and then into your downward dog. Stepping one foot through and leaving the leg down back. So this is when you do the right and the left side. One coming out of your downward dog. And then finding your way back. So they both, yeah, it's not that much different than the sun salute.
With the lunges, the first lunge, you're stepping back. And the second lunge, you're stepping forward.
Exactly. Yeah, one you're stepping from the downward dog.
Yeah.
The same as in the sequence B. Is it the same as sequence B? Oh no, sorry, not the same as sequence B. But you'll step one, you'll go into the plank in between them. So I would, in that case, in the sequence C, I would do a repetition of the whole thing at least twice and change it. So I would do one step back with my right foot, and then step front with my left foot, and then have one that I step back with my left foot, and then one, or I could do right side, and then another one left side, side. It does change your body. Like students coming to one class every here and there, it's not going to do big changes in their body for that. But if you're a teacher doing it again and again and again, which you will, it will affect you. It will compound over time.
Yeah.
The body does that. The body does that a lot. So the sun salute, if I spent a lot of time in a sun salute in a normal class, I would then bring them down to the floor. You could do a child's pose, you could finish. I would take a little bit longer than like what I did today, like with us. You could bring them down to the floor and do knee down press. We did happy baby, but you could do like one knee and then one knee and then knees to the side, knee down twist. And then finish with like a fish, a supported fish, something like that, and then your shavasana if you did like a strong class. Like they would want, like they need a little bit of time to ramp down. I knew that we were going to be talking about Sunsalutes for a couple hours, so you know, it was a different context. So that would be if we did a heavy class, like if you did, I don't know, 90 minutes going to be the average class, or like an hour class? Like usually I teach 90-minute classes minimum. And then I will do at least 20 minutes of a warm-up. That's kind of how it is. And then we kind of take like half an hour to 40 minutes in the middle, like float, kind of going up into the peak. Like that. And then the down like starts to come down, and that should be like under 20 minutes also, like 15 minutes. And then it depends, if you're an hour, then you just kind of squish that a little more. And Yeah, it will depend how long it is. But if I did super Sunsalute heavy class, then I would end them with like at least 4 something slow. One of those could even be child's pose. They could be in child's pose for a bit. You could put the slides, the cat and cow slides, you could put those again at the end. It's okay to have something from the warm-up at the end. It's okay to have repetition of movement. You know, you can do it again. It's going to enforce ideas. And also, it will be in a different style. So it's cool for students to see that, like, we did this as a warm-up. Our intentionality was to warm and fire the body, and now our intentionality is to, like, cool the body and let it. I can do the same movement. I don't think it's published yet, but for the challenge in the next days, maybe it's in the next days, I'm introducing the concepts of yin and yang in that. And so what I'm saying is these are concepts and you choose the application. We can use the same poses and we see like the forms in yin. Yeah, there's shapes, we can yang them too. You know, I could be in my yin form and be like super yummy out, you know? So it's the application. And you can decide what's your application. I could take this whole sequence A or sequence B and run it in a really melty mood, and I have like something more gentle style yoga, or I could run it in a really like raging mood, and I could have that strong energetic style. So again, if it's yin or yang, like energetically, intentionality, that's going to change a lot, Yani. Change a lot the flow of the class. So that's a concept coming. Oh, here's it. Where are all these? Any questions or comments in there? What to avoid? Yeah, the step back versus jump back, plank alignment, chaturanga. The contraindications. So I think we talked about wrist, shoulder safety. Those are number ones on the contraindications. When to avoid the classical form. That's like any time to do modifications. So in like in some classical yoga schools, they're very, 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 very strict. And they say no modifications. And then it's also people from those schools who emerge with yeah, but we merged with injuries. Let's see here. To avoid classical form.
I have a question. So the way we've been doing the Kripalu style, the like holding a pose for full breaths, taking breath, 2 integrating breaths, and then you have the sun salutation. Are these different school of thoughts, or is it something you can like combine? You can do some salutations, and then you can do like the shoulder poses.
Great question. Super question. Yeah. Number one, they are from different schools of thought. So sun salutation came from Osman, from like the original. Yeah. And then Kripalu yoga was the style that I think in the 70s. Yeah. So they would have formalized it. So yes, they're from different schools. I could take the whole practice of the sun salute and do it in Kripalu style also. Or I could present it inside of my class and change it up a bit.
Yeah.
And even I've done that in classes where I'm like, okay, now we flow a little bit and then we wait and pause. So you can decide like on your students. Kripalu methodology is really good for seniors and it's really good for teacher training because it gives people time to absorb the pose without linking. Like if you're learning and you're relatively new to yoga, you know, maybe you did it a couple years or maybe a few classes, whatever. putting together the sequencing, again, it's like learning choreography. So Kripalu is a really solid methodology for teaching because it's just like, this is it, it's a standalone one pose. But there's no rules that say that you can't blend them. I can do this style, like a vinyasa style, with all of that. I can decide if I wanted to do the sequence A, I could be like, inhale, kind of going into Sunsalute 2, go into awkward pose, then come up, half moon, 5 pointed star, so I could flow all of those also. Or I could have a chunk in the class. You could choose, like in our warm-ups as an example, we're not doing them all 4 breaths and holding, right? So, so yeah. So yes, different schools, and yes, you can blend. Yes and yes. Yeah, that's the thing is like, take it and run, take it and blend. And that's the thing, as long as you feel like you understand the contraindications well, and you can guide someone through it, the sky's the limit, the sky's the limit. You can be like, and today we're gonna stand on our foot, 1 foot, it doesn't have to be a yoga pose, we're just gonna practice our balance, and we're gonna do this. As long as you have like foreseen no dangers in that, you can run with all of them. Because it's not so much the poses that are important, it's the contraindications. It's like the what never to do, and then like the class management and the methodology. That's what's most important, Johnny. At any time. Okay, let's take a 5. What time is it now? 7:30? Okay. And we'll keep reviewing. I put this link in the Google Drive for the little infographic.
Yeah.
So that's one of the better ones, Annie.
Yeah.
Oopsie. Okay, so the yin archetypal poses. What does that mean? So all of the poses that are yin under the yin umbrella, they can be covered in these shapes. There's technically, how many are here? 7, and there, technically 5. Dog is not necessarily in there. Yes. So these are the archetypal poses of the yin. We can cover all of the meridians that we want to access here. So again, remember that yin targets your fascia and connective tissue. If you're doing something yin at the end, it is still under the category of yin, but it won't have the same, at the end of your class, like your hatha class, it won't have the same overall effect or application on the body because the whole class was in yin. So it will serve as kind of the winding down phase in the nervous system. in the body, it's not going to have the same effect on the fascia as if we did a whole yin class. It will be, the application will be focused more on the muscles. So remember, what is the difference between yin and yang in yoga, or just in those terms and concepts, is that yang is, you can think it's like pumping, it's bringing blood into the muscles, it's pumping. The heart is very yang. And then you can think that the arteries and veins are yin, because they just simply sit there and act as channels for the blood to move through, you know? So when I'm doing a yin application after a yang application, it's kind of still trailing off of the yang. So it's not, again, going to have the same effect. We're going to be in muscle tissue more than we're going to be in like connective tissue, which makes something yin yoga. Remember also when we start to think about the philosophies, as far as rules of anatomy go, all the rules of the anatomy are the same. The philosophies, yoga is Indian. Yin yoga is a hybrid from Taoist philosophy. So just remember, we're putting two philosophies together. We're in 2026. We have the ability to blend, but just be aware of that in case you get any yoga puritans on your page. There's not too many of them anymore. Everything is diluted, you know, so you're not going to get anyone that's like, this is not real. Well, I can't guarantee you that. But they're like, this is not real yoga, you know. All of the same, like the 8 limbs stuff, the yamas and niyamas, these different concepts of like cleanliness, mental cleanliness, physical, all these like qualities that the qualities that we try to grow in ourselves in yoga, they can all be applicable in yin yoga. It's just that as far as like source goes, where it came from different lineages. We go on the next page, the square or the shoelace. So remember, if you're offering, like this will be the 3rd time I'm saying it, I'm saying it in a different way. If you're offering yin poses at the end of your yang section, or your yang class, remember that all of what your detailed notes for each pose are going to be a little bit different, and you're going to have to put the yang application on them. So here, if I was doing the square or the shoelace as a form, after my Sunsalutes, as an example, or after my sequence A and B, I wouldn't give them the cues. Okay, feel the connective tissue around the hips stretch. I would say, okay, feel the hip muscles. I would change a little bit of how I'm guiding it because it's going to be that different application. And it's still useful for their body, but it's just a different application. They might not feel, and you don't need to mention this either, they'll feel what they feel, but they might not feel the same relief or the same flexibility gains as you would get in the yin class. But I like to mix a little bit. I like to mix a lot. Who am I kidding? Not a little bit. Actually, a lot. Okay, so let's try this forma, the square or the shoelace. So this is one that is awesome, and for stretching inside of the hips, inside of the piriformis. A lot of times, I like to even sit on a block and do any of these. So the square or the shoelace, you can start students sitting on a block, and then having one leg in front, and then start by bringing the other ankle to the knee, and see if that's possible first. That's the first one that we see, if it's possible. Most people feel this pretty strongly. if there's any, and try it with or without the block as you like. If there's any pinching or sensation sharp in the knee, it's a no. So there's this one. My pants are so big tonight here. So I'm like this, and then I have the other one like that. So they call it square. So you're getting in the hip, yeah? If one knee is up high, like you can put a block under it also. It's not bad. If you feel like I'm unsupported at all. And you can also, even if you felt like there's too much space, you could put one through in between there just to, yeah. If you lean forward, turn it on more. It's more in the hips, and so let's breathe. So this one is one that can take people's breath away right away because it's very, 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 very tight usually. So this is kind of in this little shape in here. Maybe get one of those onesies that's like a suit of the muscle for your horrific lesson. So when we, I don't know if the camera can see this or not. So, ending. Sorry about that. One like that. Rotate. And then one like that. So, stretch. So that's where the piriformis lives. So see how when this goes down, let's move this arm out of the way. Uh-oh, she's having Uh-oh. So when we took this up, very good. Tighten that. Okay. So this is in neutral position, yeah? So the muscles are cheeks, yeah? And then all these little connectors here. And so then when we take the knee, the leg up into that position, it rotates that away, and then those would be pulling in there. So that's that sensation that you feel. They're very, very famous muscle for dancers. Oh God, look at this leg. She wants to party tonight, guys. What are you doing? All right, so flip your legs if you haven't already. So when we go into this shape, that's what we're opening through the glutes. So if you're running, if you have a seated injury, the more that I go forward, the more intensity that it brings into that area also. Just remember some of your students, this might be their variation, like the figure four. Figure four is like halfway to what we're doing now, and it can be a lot even. Figure four can be a lot. People are like, ooh, you know, or they can even hold the leg, like nurse the leg. It's the same shape. She has a brother, not going to do this one, but this figure four with one leg and the arms back can be kind of a segue into that. And then another option, if they're not able, if it brings pain to their knees, you can just give them windshield wipers, because that might be as close to the shape as someone can get. So again, we think about what's going on in the shape. Like I'm looking at in the skeleton, like how we were turning the poses, how we were turning the bodies, and we're like, it's the same shape, like what's going on? So finding out where the tension is. So I know I need it to be in this hip joint and under the glutes essentially. And then how can I put somebody in that shape if they can't get in that shape like me? You know, that's our job as yoga teachers. So we learn how to put ourselves into the shapes in many different ways, and getting in and getting out of it. And then we are doing our best to describe to other people how they can also get into those shapes and experience some type of benefit. You're gonna love it, I swear. Yeah. So you can have them in this pose, like she is in the little square in the picture. You could also do this one on your back, right? So figure 4, they could do a figure 4 variation. It might be easier for them on their back. When you're seated, we have all that gravity pushing down on it, and also balance. We probably don't think about balance because we're fine and we're able-bodied and in decent shape. But someone else who is, not as fortunate might need a lot of help in that. So the next, that was square, the first one that we did, and the variation that she has in this photo is the shoelace, because I guess that's like a shoelace. So that one is literally crossing the knees over one another, and then bringing the hips stable. You'll notice that one hip wants to kind of lift up, so that I'm trying to stabilize. My leg that's on the top is the one that's getting more pressure in the hip. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's always that way. It really just depends how your hips are doing. But that's the intention. So you can get people, again, sitting on a rolled up mat, sitting on the blocks if they need to, or having blocks nearby just as support, and breathing into that stretch. And again, the more that we collapse the body forward or bend into the legs, the more intensity that we can put, or tension, stress that we will apply. So when we're in yin world, I will also use the terms a little bit differently for like tension and stress versus stretch, because I'm thinking more stretch when I'm stretching muscles. And then when I'm doing these like longer held time poses, I need to apply stress. That is how I would say it, rather than, now we're stretching the quad, like if I was doing something. It's like, and now we're applying stress. We're applying a line of tension, because you kind of want people to think like that. And again, like the reason that I put the curriculum this way, I at first was going to do a yin-only curriculum, because I think there's only 4 yin yoga teachers in the whole world, actually, teacher trainers. Really? In the whole world for yin. Yeah. I was like, well, I should do that, because it's like more exclusive yummy, it's more not as diluted. Is that the word I want? Yeah. Saturated, that's it, yeah, thank you. Yeah. It was another word to do with water. But I was like, not that one. But how I thought the understanding of the anatomy, because the yin anatomy is crazy. It is crazy when you go very deep into yin. And the studying of the ligaments and tendons goes way, way, way more, and the meridians also. So I was like, okay, it's like I really feel like that's a heavy load for new students, Yanni. So I was like, we'll do the anatomy of this, and then do a deeper, do a 100-hour yin after. But yeah, the yin anatomy is a lot more demanding than the anatomy for this, and I feel like it is a progression and progressional. Let's switch our legs. So when I roll out of this one, just like a lot of the yin ones, I go for the path of least resistance. I kind of roll and I take the tension and I give time. Like you can have 2 minutes in between. You can use your hands to flip your legs if you want, or just flip your leg. This side is not good. Yeah, so this. And then there's that very deep feeling. So again, you can have students lean back. And again, like you will gradually put them into this form. I wouldn't start my class here. You know what I mean? I would ramp it up slowly. But this is also this form, like I mentioned, my ladies back in and St. John's back in Canada, they were all like bigger ladies, you know, heavier ladies. So can a lady with really huge thighs do this? No. So she's gonna need another variation, even square. Like, think about like ladies with a thigh like this. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of them around. And this one, no. Figure 4 with the leg against the wall is probably gonna be her option or something like that. And then, because it's just a matter of physics, you can't stack the bones when there's all too much meat in the way. It just is that. Yes. So not all hip rotations. So yeah, that's important to mention. So when I was up there popping her bones out of the socket, that should have been a clear cue for that. So not all hips rotate like that. Thank God. Or stay stuck like that. So some people, stay here for a minute, I'm going to show you something. And stay in your shape. So some people can sit here and inwardly rotated, or some people can sit outwardly rotated, more better than others. And some don't have a lot of movement either way. So it will be a matter of students knowing their rotation, knowing maybe one hip is different than the other, you know. So starting with windshield wipers. Okay, we're going to do some hip openers slowly. We can move into some windshield wipers, and then starting by taking, so let's take the tension off of this one, just roll back for a minute. Okay, just roll until the tension's off. So mess around. You could start them in the windshield wiper, and you guys can go into windshield wiper now. But say you could start them in windshield wiper, and then be like, okay, we're going to try this, and bringing them first into the nest, and just kind of like seeing the progression, how it goes. Also, you could have them seated and just be like, see how your rotation is. We have rotation in, we have rotation out, and just let people kind of discover on their own, you know. We have rotation in, we have rotation out. Some people naturally will have one that is more able and easier than the other. It's just how it is. But you can tell, if you're like, what did you do when you were a kid? You know, when you see kids like sitting like this is not that comfortable for me. I can be here, but I don't love it. And I'm outward rotation. But I feel like I have like no power when I'm in this position. So if you sat like this as a child, you would recognize it right away, and you would be like, oh yeah, I do that. If you didn't, you probably don't move that way naturally. Like think about what you did as a kid when you just like plopped yourself down. What did your body do without you trying to force it? Because kids don't have limitations, or kids don't have muscle issues as much as like we do as when we're adults. So think about, well, how did you just sit and read a book? How did you just like sit and enjoy or comb your hair or something? Like some people sit like that. Like I know kids, I've seen kids sitting like that, and some people sit out. I always would sit maybe like that. So this was like a one-on-one happening, you know. And then if you do something also for a long time, then it has that effect on you, which it becomes more easier to do also, or it becomes a repetitive use injury. So getting people to know, doing exactly what you guys just did now, explore, let's say the rotation of our hips, and explain. Remember this one? Say my toes are pointing up right now. If I turn my toes towards you guys, is it my foot moving? No. Yes, but no. It's connected here. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've added that in a class, and people are like, wow. You know? Like, it's like, but also sometimes we don't think of it. It's not that people are stupid or uneducated or, man, I have a slice and I don't know how I got that. And I keep touching it. So do this one and be like, okay, do this with me, and you can get them to hold their legs. You say, turn your toes front. Some are going to be able to do it very easily, and then say, now turn your toes out. And some will be like, I can't do it at all. And they'll have their observations, and then say, okay, and just so you know, hold the leg and feel. It's from the rotation of the femur, of this largest bone in our body. So that's that turning in the hip. And even if they want to go up and hold their hip and feel how the hip closes a little bit and how the hip opens when I do that. So that's even extending further up. So you can just let people know about what is hip rotation, number one. I mean, I probably overuse the term hip rotation as a teacher, but it's because I'm a dance teacher also, you know, so I'm like, your rotation, you know, I'm like, oh, that rotation. So introduce the concept of hip rotation first with that extended leg, and then with the legs to the side, and then you can put that into one of these, one or the other, square or shoelace or, what did I say, figure four. Yeah, and it says, my final thing, it says, maybe too aggressive for some bodies. So again, not just big thighs ladies or men, but also people with shorter limbs, people who are just more stocky. We're all proportionate, all of us, with our body and arm to leg ratios, you know, for our sizes. But sometimes there's people like, I know it's not a kosher word, but midgets or little people, like that's an extreme version, an extreme case. But people with much shorter limbs, they're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to also be able to do all of the poses that you cross your limbs to do, so figure four. Eagle arms, like someone if their arms are long, they're not getting here. Often if they have a big chest also. So think about variations for that. Eagle arms, I mean, they can be like this, but have a strap, but it's still not the same. They can pull one at a time, you know, they can pull one. Or they can also do one leg at a time, like I was saying, the sitting and holding the leg. But yeah, you should be creative and try to get them into a different shape and give them something else. And then we'll do one more of this yin archetypal pose. I can't do this one tonight because my back is still not great. Caterpillar is seated forward fold. So we have seated forward bend. What's the difference between this and seated forward fold? Seated forward fold, we are extended in our spine, like we're kind of extended. And then this one, we yin out. So I'm going to keep my knees bent, just pretend that they're not. And also, maybe someone needs to have bent knees because they have a back issue, right? So you can tell your students, start with the legs extended, legs, feet are flat. Knees can be slightly bent. They can also put a cushion or a block or a rolled up towel or something to support a little knee bend under that. And then just like we did in the seated forward fold, we inhaled up and then we brought our torso to the legs and then we slowly brought our legs out. For this one, you can just like let yourself melt to where it is. So you can start them here like how I am, bent like that. And then they can go, I'm not forcing at all. So the difference between seated forward bend and then being here right now is we're just allowing and we're melting. In the seated forward bend, I'm not letting my upper body curve forward like that. I'm keeping my upper back engaged. And then we can also use the strap in the hatha version. But when we're yinning now, we can be super melty. If your students have, or yourself, you have your legs extended and you feel like it's still kind of far, you can also bring your blocks onto your knees. And you can just be like this. Or you can be even higher up. You can be like this. And then you just breathe into the back. for right now, for my own self, with my back spasm and erector spinae, being forward like this is kind of just like triggers it a little more, but being forward in the standing forward fold doesn't for me. So I will take the standing forward fold, Gabby, or just know what is my, know what is my limitations. But for my own issues in my body, I've always had an issue that kind of triggers my back spasm. And remember, you don't need to go to as far as you can go right away. You could, if you had 2 blocks that you were stacked on, and be like, oh, I still have room, I could go more far. That's fine, just stay and breathe a few breaths, and then take your block out, and then let yourself go. So after the body kind of climatizes, and you let it just melt a little more forward. So this will target a lot in our thoracolumbar fascia. So this is where the thoracic and the lumbar meet. Exactly where I have my injury. This area of the body naturally curves forward and does not need to become overstretched. So like where our back starts to round forward there. Take time to target the proper area of the form, the low back and the backs of the legs. So yes, while you're in this form, you can feel hella stretch in the upper back and neck. But that's not necessarily the target that we want. If you're loving it, then I mean, stay and love it. It's okay. Breathe into it. But just remember that the intention for this form is to be a little bit lower down. So think of that area in the low back, over, just under the ribs, like it's plugging into the ribs, that low back. And then we have 8 layers of fascia and very dense layers in this area of the body. This protects our organs from the back. And this also helps us, again, stay upright. It has a lot of, again, the fascia. It's so dense in this area of the body because this is the convergence of the muscles from the lower body through into the trunk. So again, that wrap of the glutes comes up through the QL and in threads and into the low back, and then up into the obliques and up into the transverse, So feel those lines of tension that you're feeling in your back. And feel maybe it's a little more on one side or a little more on the other side. And I would just allow gravity and stress to open it a little bit. So the similar contraindications for this as for our other forward folds where people with slipped or herniated discs should just be sure not to apply too much stress on the vertebra in particular, So again, target your line of tension, target that line of stress. You can change it if it becomes too much in one area. You can change it a little bit. So the term they use, but they go, allow the upper body to drape. So again, it's just, I like using the word melting. But again, it depends on the vernacular of your community. So if you want it, I've heard lots of different languaging. But yeah, you want to move slowly, dreamily, melting. In a melty vibe, I use melty. And slowly, as you're ready to come out of that form, just breathe and take at least 1 minute to come out of it. So use your hands to walk yourself up, use your breath. Go slow, slow. It's way slower than you think. Take your time. So again, on this one, same as, well, not same as forward fold, but a little bit, but take care not to overemphasize the thoracic curve, which is the curve where we rounded our upper back already. So take the rebound from this. So as we come up and we feel just like the fascia reacting to being under stress for a while and then coming up, just be with that sensation. In Hatha Yoga, we often move into a counter pose in yin. We just experience the rebound. We receive the sensation. So yes, there's the term called the fascial rebound, which is like once we have the fascia and the tissues are stretched like this, they slide back into place. Do you remember the video we watched and they were like the little zigzags when they went back? So they went out and then they slide back into place. So it's kind of our instinct or our habit that we want to like move within that, but just kind of let it do its thing and breathe. So you want to encourage students and yourself like not to do extra movement, but just to stay in this stillness and enjoy coming back. And especially it's more important when we're dealing with these layers of thoracolumbar fascia because they're so strong plastic tissues. And the plastic tissues, again, it's like when you stretch the plastic bag and it stays stretched, it doesn't snap back like an elastic, it stays like pulled out. So that's what's happening on the fascia in a very like micro level, tiny level. Like it's not moving that much, you know? It's like like barely. So yeah, feeling in that rebound and just like, I mean, if your students are gonna like counter stretch and move, there's not a lot that you can do to stop them, but you just have to give them what to do and then explain why. You know what I mean? So okay, our body experiences this sensation called the rebound, and you know, it's not that you will be injured, it's just that that's not 100% true. It's not 100% true either. It's not that you'll be like injured easily, but it's just that if you move fast after being that, that's when you could just get a snag, which would be maybe like a little small tear or just some like discomfort down here. So just like when we're in this yin mode, we have to stay in that mode even when we're coming out of the form. So it's like really let them take their time and say, now take a full minute. You could even count to 60 for them if you're on it. Like it's long. It feels long. When you're like 1 minute, it's so long, you know, it feels long. So you can guide them, okay, slowly, come more slow, melting, take your time. However many different ways you learn to say take your time will be useful in the yin application. Okay, any questions about those two yin forms?
I feel like students might ask, because they're so used to doing yang type yoga, they'll always be asking like, should my toes be this way or
Yeah. Oh, they will for sure.
Yeah.
They will 100%. So you just say, let gravity do it. Say, just enjoy not having to overthink. Just plop your body down.
Yeah.
Plop. But yeah, no, they will super ask. And then, so even going back to like we were talking about that rotation in and out, what did you do when you were a kid? You know, when we do, and we're going to go into a yin practice here in a minute, when we do saddle pose, we have one leg behind. The big question is what to do with the foot. And say, is it bothering you? No, don't do anything. But it's not the same, it doesn't matter. But it's not the same as yours or it doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So just like sometimes if people are struggling with it, with something to do with that, then take the time. But when it's in yin, Just however they go naturally is probably going to be their solution, you know. But yeah, just let them know. Say however you went to the floor. And also, the same rules apply as what we learned. What were we doing? Anytime that just sitting. Anytime that we move our abs or our meat, you can be like, oh, you might want to adjust anything to see if you can get a better connection with the floor. You can offer them that. But it's, just say, how did it go naturally? And as long as it's not bothering you, don't worry about it. And then if they really want to dig into it, you can say, well, there's a thing called skeletal variation. And means that your skeleton has variety from everyone else, you know? And they might not want to hear that. All right. Let's take 5 minutes and then we'll get into our practice. Is there any questions about, I was trying to keep tonight like fast and light.
In yin, because I don't know how to frame this question.
Sorry.
For example, like in this pose, I can feel like, because I'm being relaxed, I'm like slumping into my shoulder, slumping. Is that okay, or should I still try and keep that integrity?
Yeah, if you're yinning out, because here, if I'm doing the slump into my shoulder, can I still, if my target was to get my quad, can I still get it? It's fine. And because when we do Cobra version, in Cobra, we are slumping into the shoulders. So we don't want to, we always say in Cobra, we're like, don't do that ever, or don't do that when the arms are up, don't do that, you know. So when you're here, super fine. As long as you don't feel like it's pinching off anything or compromising anything. But at the same time, remember that you're going to come out of this, even it's not the focus of the pose. So even I'm going to come out of that, I'm going to slowly push. I mean, I can also just slowly lay down to come out of it too. So slowly come out of it. So the only contraindication if I was slumped into the shoulders for that would be coming out of it too fast. So just keep the whole body in this yin, and then you can even give that as a cue and be like, okay, allow yourself to melt. It's not aesthetic, you know. It's not aesthetic. So usually I will be like, this is the time, you know. It's not aesthetic, and we're in a side bend and your whole face is going like this, and just be like, it's okay, it's super not aesthetic, it's not supposed to be, but just go for the feeling.
Would
and
it
then
be like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Would it be like a contraindication if I'm actually trying to hold the alignment, like the space between my shoulders and my neck? Would this be like counterintuitive for you?
No,
trying to keep that space.
Not necessarily. It depends on the effect you want. You're not going to go in that super melty bliss yinny type. You know, you're gonna just be in normal yoga mode. You know, but it can still be in the category of yin.
Yeah.
You can make that decision. You can say, okay, we're going to hold ourselves, and then you can say for the final couple breaths, allow yourself to melt. Because for me, holding in this position when I'm back like this, if I want to be in alignment, not melted, I'm really focused on pulling my sternum, so I'm engaged through my back and my lats, and I'm holding in my arms. So I'm holding here. I can still get that super stretch in my leg also, but it's still not the full effect of yin. Ideally, my upper body, that could be one, when I had my ladies in Siwa, one lady, she had a hard time going back. I stacked for her 4 or 6 pillows high. And so she just leaned back like this, and the pillows were there to support her. Or if you went back and the couch is against your back and you were against it like that, that's another option for that also. So I could be even against the wall and still get that, or set myself up cushions wise, my back against the sofa, I use that. I do that a lot, Shammy. I use the sofa a lot. So yeah, it will. When you're holding engaged, it's not. Yeah, it's not gonna be yin, but it's not wrong either. You know what I mean? But some yin Puritan would say it's not a Puritan class. Yeah, but it's really like whatever the effect. Like if you're doing your own practice at home and you're just like, I want to stretch this leg and I don't want to feel melted, then that's what you know, it's totally, completely fine. Completely okay, but you know, good question actually. All right, let's take 5 and then we'll get into our final day. I have to teach yoga at 7 in the morning tomorrow before I class. That's why you guys.
What to do?
To some ladies from Malaysia. They're at House of Key. I was actually going to Giza. And that's I said I'll go early. She's like, well, we usually do yoga at 7. I was like, 7's fine for dinner. And yeah, they're just some ladies coming, and I have House of Kiosk asking if I would do that. So I said, okay, sure. Oh, wow. You know what? When you're super busy, it's better to just stay super busy. Like, don't look for a moment when can I, like, I know I have 3 busy days, like for this weekend, right? So I could be like, oh, when is some time I'll just sleep when I'm done.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I'll just sleep when I'm done. Because then if you get in the mode, like, napping mode, you might just stay in napping mode. You know, so I know myself well enough. I'm like, no, I just want to stay in this mode. So.
Stay up.
Yeah.
Because I've got to travel. My flight's at 9 in the morning on Sunday. So I have to be there for like 6. And I'm like, oh, we finished training at 9. And my friend's like, you need to sleep. I was like, yeah, but if I feel like that'll make it worse.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I just have to stay up.
Unless you sleep cycle your sleep, so just sleeping in 90-minute chunks. So unless you make sure you sleep in like 90 minutes, 3 hours, 4.5, 6, or 7.5, like that's when you're full REM sleep does a. Like I notice if I sleep for 90 minutes, or if I sleep for 2 hours, I'm worse. Yeah. Because I was in the middle of a sleep cycle when I woke up, and I'm like.
Yeah.
I'm like, where am I? What's my name? Like, really, really bad. Just that extra 20 minutes that like put you in the sleep cycle. Yeah, we'll be done both of these days. We'll end at 7. I was seeing like on the days I was getting way cooked, and then and you guys are getting way cooked and not like, you know, I'd rather end on a little bit of a fresher note and then remember things more. Don't use my laptop all the time. The night dogs.
I have to like batten down the hatches for this storm.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's keep our eye on that. It's supposed to, I'll see early in the morning if it's happening. I'll report back nice and early to you guys. But the main thing about those sandstorms